Have you ever thought that blockchain is great but there are not many people using it correctly? Then this video is for you. Hey everyone, my name is Sahil and this is Crypto Clarity, the channel where I talk all about blockchain and cryptocurrency. So in today's video, I will be talking to Sander from Supplain.io, which is a blockchain protocol for developers, suppliers and logistic services provider. This is amazing to talk about supply chain and the issues that we have in the current supply chain market and how blockchain can resolve it. So make sure you watch this video till the end and ask any question below so I can answer them in the comment section. Make sure that you like and subscribe so that you can listen to more people like Sander on Crypto Clarity. Let's get right into it. Hey Sander, how are you doing?
Hey, very good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for coming on board and joining me on Crypto Clarity.
It's great to be here.
How's your day going and how's everything at Supplain.io?
Yeah, everything is going quite busy and quite great. We're currently in the process of organizing our Supplain summit in a couple of weeks' time, and
Yeah.
preparations are going, connecting with hundreds of different supply chain innovators and investors and everyone else in the industry. And when it comes to Supplain itself, then we've been developing the protocol, and things are progressing quite nicely with that as well.
Yeah, that must be really exciting for you at this time, especially coming up with a lot of companies in Supplain Summit, working with them.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's tiring when you have to talk to 5 or even 10 people per day.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to go deep into discussing the ins and outs of supply chain. Then by the end of the evening, you're like, whoa. But but it's
It's a big
very
task.
interesting. Yeah, but there's it's very interesting and very educative. So
Yeah,
I can't complain.
exactly. No, so this is the reason I've got you on to Crypto Clarity so that we can, speak about how this is the real use case of blockchain and what you are doing with Supplain is something, I've been also following from start because supply chain is a big issue worldwide. Even like last 2 year we saw the problems we had with supply chain, and even right now we are having a lot of big issues, and that's mostly because of how things are recorded on databases and how it is shared with people in a organization. So how will you tell that Supplain is changing that and what Supplain is doing in the space?
Yeah. So when it comes to Supplain, then what we envision is that when currently the world is so that when there's a manufacturing company or a retailer or a logistics company, then they have hundreds of different partners. And in order to make their companies work, they need to make hundreds of integrations one by one to each of those companies or partners.
Yeah.
So what we are looking to do is to generate one standard that would enable the type of feature where they would just have to do one integration to the protocol, which then enables them to connect with any other company that has been doing the integration with the protocol, which is not completely unheard of, because when it comes to the financial world, then we already have SWIFT, which is used in order to connect all the banks and other financial institutions. But when we talk about logistics and the rest of the trade, the whole supply chain industry, then there is no such thing. And that's what we are building to simplify the connectivity. And once that's done, then the rest of supply chain can become much more optimized and transparent.
Exactly. So do you think that it's because how current supply chain is in separate databases and how it is so disconnected with everything, and that is why blockchain is important in that space, because there is so much data in there, and I think blockchain will be definitely able to help in storing that and properly sharing it with their supply or stakeholders in their supply chain.
Yeah, our previous company that we built in 2014, then we started already looking into the connectivity question. And at that point, we were building a centralized platform to connect e-commerce companies to the logistics companies. And we realized that there were so many integrations that we had to build, and this still didn't fully perform. So that's why we started looking into better alternatives once we had sold the previous company. And after being around with new technologies, including blockchain for some time, we started thinking that maybe there is something to use from blockchain side. But when we talk about blockchain, then how do we see it? Is actually that the old way is that you had the mainframe in your storage place, and you had all the information there. The current way is that you have a cloud storage in Amazon Web Services or Google, somewhere else, and you have all your information there. But this is still limiting, because now you have to still rely on this one partner. What blockchain enables is that you actually have the same data, but it's going to be in multiple clouds. You have it in AWS and Google and something else at the same time, and all of those are connected through the blockchain, which then gives you a lot of more security. And since you are using multiple different databases at the same time, then when it comes to connectivity, you can also start playing around with how to make it simpler for the companies to connect with one another using this thing, which some people think is very hard and difficult. But in its core, blockchain is still quite easy and simple.
It's it's more like a database and decentralized database. So I try to tell it to people that simply it's a better technology, better version of current AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud. Whatever we are using today is a bit centralized, and then this is more decentralized. You have more access points to access it from different places. You can put it in Europe, Australia, or America, anywhere, and it will be easier for people who are involved in that blockchain or exchange of data. They will be easier to use that.
And it's very important to note that the future will still have the companies such as AWS, Azure, and Google. They would just be connected inside the blockchain network. So it will be different providers all collaborating in order to better store and better share information.
Yeah, that's definitely the point in that space. And I would like to know how you started Supplain and how you got into this space. I saw that Bored Ape on your LinkedIn profile as well, and I believe that you've already played with NFTs. So tell us a bit about yourself and how you started doing this.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, in 2014 we started our previous supply chain venture already, which we successfully exited in 2019, and then for the additional 1.5 years we were at the new company that bought us before we then started building Supplain. But the history when it comes to why supply chain and why entrepreneurship goes even more back, because when it comes to my history, then my family has been in entrepreneurship, building and running different businesses throughout my life, and even before that. So it was just always natural to do something myself instead of going and working for someone else. Exactly. And initially, the things that we were playing around with my dad, who was being a good inspiration to me when it comes to businesses, was just e-commerce related. But then I started getting this technology interest in myself, and starting from around high school, the first year or second year, I started very much looking into sharing economy and how to build different platforms that would enable to share resources better. And then my first real startup was just after high school, when we started building a platform to share construction workers via one place. Like you had the TaskRabbit for everyone about cleaners and fixers and everything else, and we were thinking of doing something similar, focused on just the builders. But then I went to Draper University in 2015, and so this is a kind of like a individual accelerator for gifted kids between the ages of 16 to 28 or so that are looking to become entrepreneurs. And then this one crazy VC from Silicon Valley has put together a program where they have around 70, sometimes 100 people together for 6 to 8 weeks, building their projects and then getting best mentors around the valley to come and talk to them. So second day there, Tim was asking for me that is the thing that you're really doing in your heart or in your head, and don't answer if it's in your head, then just stop. So I did. I stopped this thing and continued the path, which then led to this supply chain startup, and which now has led us to Supplain.
Amazing. That's a great journey because of how you are into startups since a young age, and I believe you see this in your heart that you want to connect the supply chain, and you want to really integrate this space, and that's why you're doing it right now.
Yeah, I've just been around everything which is a real world supply chain for so long that and I've seen how not connected it is.
Yeah.
It's like, let's get this one thing fixed, and then let's see, can we do something else? Because from overall, I'm very interested in robotics and biotech and some other these like super high level things.
Yeah.
But I understand that before I go there and start playing a philanthropist and a crazy genius who's just looking into new things, we need to do something which is real, fix this, and then go see what other things come across. And maybe a important segue is also that when it comes to the same Draper University experience, that was when I was firstly like really starting to look into Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, but I didn't really go deep into it. I just started listening and trying to understand what's happening. And only in 2020, during the March crash, when everything crashed, then I thought, okay, so now it's like a good time to buy. So that's when I bought my first real Bitcoin and Ethereum, and started playing around with the industry, and bought my first CryptoKitty NFTs to take those two kitties and make a third one, and then accidentally bought myself a Bored Ape in May last year. And then now we're here with World of Freight and Supplain and everything else that we've been building.
Yeah, that's amazing, because you never see that in hindsight, and once you look back, it's like, wow, you were there. In 2020, people think that it was not early. Like someone who is starting today, they will be thinking, oh, that was ages ago. Because look at the price still, and how the market is obviously up and down always. I believe it will be crashing again. You can see the whole economy, but yeah, again, that's a speculation thing for everyone. So how would you suggest that the problems that are in current supply chain, and how blockchain can help in that?
Well, there have been a lot of companies that have tried to build something within supply chain with the use of blockchain. The first ones started back in like 2016-17, and we still have some projects since then, such as VeChain, which is a Chinese proof of authority layer one that is doing some things in supply chain, but it hasn't been getting too much adoption yet in our eyes. Then you have various more private blockchains that have been built on the merge of Hyperledger fabric built by IBM and then Ethereum, such as
Dynamics.
There are a lot of things like that. I think there's like 20 different projects that try to do something, but there's a lot of problems why they didn't succeed. Most of which are to do with scalability, because the use of two different chains at the same time, one being public, the other one being private. It sounds that it would work, but it's not really good opportunity. And the other thing which they have been failing at is that they have said that, okay, so we made a solution. We have a language, lingua franca. If you want to use us, you have to speak our language. And then the companies come and say like, but we don't like technology at all. And now you say that we need to use technology and we need to use it your way. Like, we don't like it.
Yeah.
So what we, based on that, what we have been doing with Supplain is that, okay, so we understand technology is here. You can use blockchain in some ways. But when it comes to how to make the companies adopt blockchain, you need to hide the fact that there's blockchain. You need to generate some sort of additional layers that would simplify the use for those companies that are not crypto native, so that they would get the benefits, but they wouldn't have to think about opening a wallet and providing security and stakes and everything else, which is like, it's easy if you look into it, but it's too much for those that are not doing it as their main business.
Yeah. That's true. For major adoption, we need something that is understandable for everyone. It should be like a mobile phone, that everyone uses but doesn't care about the technology behind it. So that's amazing that you're trying to do that with Supplain. And how do you think that this current supply chain and how fast the adoption could be in this space? Do you think that it will be coming few years?
When we think about how fast adoption has been coming to any other technology within supply chain, then it's been slower than most other fields. And we need to understand that even if we do build the best thing out there, then it's going to take at least 5 years, perhaps even 10 years to get any meaningful type of like real adoption. We do see, according to our plans, that we will be able to get first couple of hundred companies to start transacting on the network within next year. And then we do see that within the year after that, we could be reaching to around a couple of thousands, maybe 10,000 or more companies using it, and then continue from there. So we do still see that there is a pathway to getting a meaningful adoption that would make the network work. But in order to arrive to everyone, or even half of the companies out there, then it's going to take a slightly longer time.
Exactly. The network effect takes place after, the first few iterations, and again, after that, it will be easier.
Yeah. And then when we talk about even internet, then it's been around for, 30 years now? And
more than around 40, 50 years with the initial iteration, and then a major adoption came after like 25, 30 years, and then, boom.
Yeah. And still, we only reach to, I think it's 3 billion people, 3.5 billion people. So still only 50% of everyone. So I think when we talk about all those technologies, we can't expect everyone to ever use everything, but we can expect that we can reach this like 10%, 20% adoption in relatively fast. And this is maybe something that in the short term, everything that's happening, which is new, we can see that things are taking slightly longer than we initially expected. But in the long term, things are usually happening much faster than we expect. So it's going to be somewhere there.
Exactly. So another question, a technical question about Supplain. Supplain is a different blockchain, and how the interoperability would work in Supplain. How do you, plan to integrate different blockchains, and which blockchains, if so?
We very much believe in the future of having multiple blockchains, layer 1s and layer 2s, that will be run at the same time. Simply because there are so many different adoptions that need slightly tweaked versions of networks. When we talk about the financial transactions, then using the likes of Ethereum make a lot of sense, because you want a lot of security, and usually you want to transact something which is valued more than a couple of hundred euros at the same time, or dollars. And when we then look at everything that's happening in this ecosystem, then it's perfectly working. When we then look into things such as gaming, where you still have a lot of transactions happening, but the value is slightly smaller per transaction. It might be just a couple of like 10 or 20 or 30 dollars per time. Then you already need to start looking at is Ethereum the most optimal for that, or do you need something else? can you do it on layer 2, such
Layer
as
2.
Polygon, or you need to go into your separate layer 1, and there are different projects that have been building their own very much gaming focused layer 1s. And then when we go deeper in it and look into the field of supply chain, where we can see that already today, just looking at small packages which are being delivered on a daily basis, then there are over 100,000 transactions being done per second around the world. This is happening in Web 2 at the moment.
Yeah.
We know that there are over 100,000 transactions per second that need to be somehow connected to the Web 3 world in order to get this connection that we're expecting. At the same time, the average value for this transaction is just $1, which means that if the average value for the transaction of this shipment is $1, then the average value of a transaction for moving the information about this shipment cannot be more than $1. Exactly. Most likely it needs to be 100 times less, so it needs to be like 1 cent. And when we talk about this type of things that we need to do 100,000 transactions at 1 cent per transaction, then no one is even close to looking at this. And then there are some other additional things that are very important, such as the mix of public and private information and the different access points and the enterprise-focused things. And this is everything why we eventually had to start building our own layer 1 instead of being able to use the existing networks. We do still believe that there needs to be a lot of interoperability built between the blockchains. And fortunately, there are some solutions that are already focusing on like layer 0 type of things that would connect blockchains underneath. And that's something that we are looking into, how to implement those so that we would be connected to Ethereum, to Polkadot, to Cardano, and all the others. That's
zero knowledge.
Zero knowledge is one side, but there are some other sides as well. So there's a bunch of different things which, for now, we've been talking about zero knowledge and bridging, but most likely there will be some other ways eventually that will also be making it possible.
Better for using layer 0. Amazing. That's great to know, and I think there is a lot of things coming in that space, so you can keep on building, because again this space moves so fast, and you would know more than anyone else with a startup like yours, how fast things are, and then so many things are happening every day. If you keep up to them, you will be like, what, but people like yourself need to focus on the product, because this is a real world thing that you are doing, rather than sitting there and selling the token for it. So this is something that I like to talk about on my channel, and it's amazing that you've been here. Anything else that you would like to add on to the conversation?
Maybe there's two things that need to be mentioned as well. That first of all, when it comes to Supplain, then we did not start to build it completely from scratch, but instead we already saw that there are some things, building blocks that make sense to be used. So that's why the initial core code for Supplain blockchain was based on the substrate tools which are being used underneath Polkadot. So that also makes it much more simpler for us to, in the future, start integrating to other blockchains. And then the other thing which is important is that when we started building Supplain, we realized that the only way you can do anything in Web3 is to first build a community to attract people that will be future builders, future investors, and just other parties that would be somehow involved. And that's why we started something called World of Freight in the very early days as a Discord-based community that is everyone with supply chain interest that comes together and helps us figure out how to build it all. And in that, we did generate this World of Freight NFT as well. So if anyone wants to get involved with Supplain now, then the easiest way is to join this community. And then over time, we'll be growing it further and further and becoming this big ecosystem of Supplain. So if anyone figures the supply chains,
Yeah.
whether it is from the manufacturing, logistics, retail, some sort of clean tech or some other fields is interesting for them, then come and join us and let's try to build a more connected supply chain.
Definitely, it is something that people would love to do because people who work in supply chain and have their connections, they know that there are problems in there, but most of the time they cannot do much about it. But if they have a platform, and especially a Web3 platform like yourself, I will definitely put the links in the description so that people can join and get in touch with the community, talk to people who are similar, like-minded people, and create something that is of value in real world as well. That is amazing.
Yeah, so everyone's welcome.
Yeah, all good. That's it for this video. Thanks for coming in, Sander. I would really appreciate you coming on and talking those points about Supplain and how you got into this. It's amazing, and definitely looking forward to hear more from you. And definitely I'll put more links to Supplain Summit, which is happening on what date is it exactly? In September?
Yes, the Supplain Summit is happening in September 19th and 20th.
Okay. And people can join in remotely as well? Or is it
yes,
person?
so we are most likely going to announce virtual tickets soon as well. And so in the end, we'll be releasing the content outside for sure.
All right, that's great. So yeah, I will put those links after taking it from you as well. And yeah, thanks for being here, Sander. I'll talk to you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks.